Okay, Professor Krush here. I'm going to go over a pretty brief lesson just understanding what happens to a rectangle in two-point perspective when it's on the horizon, below the horizon, and above the horizon. And this is from an old traditional book that's just showing, some information on it. My students actually have a copy of this text. Please read it. This is basically just showing if you've seen a rectangle, a cube or whatever, straight on, you're not seeing the top, you're not seeing the sides. If you started going above the horizon, you would start to see the top of it. But what makes perspective real interesting is if you take that cube or rectangle and you turn it against the horizon, then you start to see the sides. And beyond sides, you also, depending on your eye level to the horizon line, you might be seeing the top. So I just want to quickly review a few things that I've drawn here and show you in terms of steps how this was arrived. What's really important is the first thing that you always are going to draw if you're drawing something like this, or even a building or a farm, which is going to be part of our class project, a farm building, a long barn. What determines a way to set out where this is going to position on the page and how everything is going to relate to it in terms of scale is this first vertical line. So I'm going to start with this one in the middle here, and I'm creating a horizon line. I always tend to call a horizon line, refer to it also as a line of vision, because if we can't see the horizon, we're forced to look out and use our line of vision, or we can estimate behind everything we're looking at where we think that horizon line is falling. Doesn't matter for this exercise, we're just drawing a straight line across, perfectly horizontal, and we're going to have three different cubes that relate to it with different vanishing points. So here's our horizon. Again, what are the two most important things? If we're going to do two-point perspective, we need a horizon line and we need vanishing points that are going to sit on that horizon line. So this first one, there's a vertical line through here. Okay, that was my first move, and I decided to make it this size relationship. I intentionally made it below and above the horizon line. So if you look, here's the horizon. It's a little bit more above than below. Okay, and I've decided to make this the long side, so I put a vanishing point out kind of far on this side. And I decided this is going to be the side that we don't see that much of, and there's going to be a lot stronger angle in there and a lot more foreshortening. If you know, I've been a big fan of reminding my class folks that through here, you always want to look at these angles when you're looking at a real object. And that angle, where it hits the horizon line, is what's going to determine the vanishing point. So we're kind of working backwards a little bit. We're not as concerned with the real object and measuring that. We're just doing something literally to plot vanishing points and have lines go to it. When we do the farm building, that's going to be more critical to really examine those angles and how they hit a real horizon line. So real observation. So anyway, if that's the case, here's the top, here's the bottom. Simply, this point has to go to this vanishing point. The top here is going to go to this vanishing point. And then I'm going to drop a vertical line estimated on how far, if it was a real object, how far it looks like it's going out. Is it a long building or a short building or whatever it is? So it doesn't matter. It's arbitrary at this point. I'm just making this side longer than that side and dropping a perfectly straight perpendicular vertical through there. Okay, then I'm doing the same thing with the other side with the shorter vanishing point. So this is a sharp angle going to here, and then it's a sharp angle going to here. Okay, and then I'm dropping. I could drop it here, I could drop it here out further, but I'm just choosing to drop this vertical through here. And then I'm making this line bold so you can kind of really see. You can still see the construction lines a little bit, but I'm intentionally making this stronger and also erasing somewhat that horizon line on the inside, just so you can see the shape, not to confuse. So that's one where if it's above and below, we don't have the vantage point where we're seeing the top of that cube, and we don't have the vantage point where obviously it's like a box kite or something up in the air and we're seeing below it. So that's on the horizon. To our right, I'm going to go this way first, is where we're doing a rectangle that is going to be below the horizon. So once again, I know it looks intimidating, and this one also has the addition of a dotted line as if we're seeing through the rectangle, which is similar to as if you were looking at a fish tank, an empty fish tank, okay? What's the most important line? Here it is, that vertical line to determine where is this in relationship to the horizon. How long am I going to make that? It's going to determine how big this box is going to be. For my students, I want everybody to go through this exercise and do not make these things big. This line is only like an inch. This one's maybe an inch and a quarter, and that last one is like an inch. So keep these things small so you have the room to have these lines go out pretty far and hit the vanishing points. So in this one, this side is the short side, and this side is the long side, a little bit opposite to that. So I'm plotting a vanishing point here, plotting one out here, and again, these lines, the bottom is going to go to here, the top of that vertical is going to go to here, reciprocal on the other side. These are going to go out longer to hit that vanishing point there. This is going to hit that vanishing point out here. And then I'm arbitrarily dropping some verticals to create the rectangle. Okay? Now to do the top, what you're doing is you're taking these side corners, okay? And this is very confusing for some reason to students at first, but it's once again, it's just mechanicals. All these lines, they have to hit a vanishing point somewhere. So this point is actually going to cross over and go out to that vanishing point. Okay, in this corner here, the top of that is going to go out to that vanishing point. And notice what happens is those lines crisscross. Where they crisscross, that's the back point. That's the back point of that rectangle. Okay, so by doing those lines and then strengthening what happens in here and in here, it's nice. You get the shape of this rectangle. And then again, you can choose. I want folks in my class to do this with one of these, either the left one or this one. Probably this one is the one that makes the most sense, to add these dotted lines for what would be the inside of this shape. So from here, you're simply dropping a straight vertical dotted line. And then think about it again. They're always going to go to the opposite direction, your points. So here's your bottom point. Just like this top point, this bottom point is also going to go out to that vanishing point, okay, through here. This bottom point in the back here, as it does to the top, is going the opposite direction. That's why I have a little arrow, and it's going to the vanishing point out there. Where these intersect again in here is where you have the base. So this dotted line, here's the point right here where the three of these intersect, the vertical, this bottom part, and this bottom part. So I strengthen the dotted line through here, I strengthen the dotted line through here, strengthen the dotted vertical to there, and I'm done. It doesn't have to be a dotted line, but I'm trying to show it could be like a strong, bold line versus a lighter line. Just the sense of this is the structure and this is if we're looking through it. Okay? This last one to my left, this is one where you wouldn't see this ordinarily, but if you had a rectangle that was up in the air, okay, you have the horizon line, and the point of view is that if you're seeing the bottom of something, you're actually looking up at it. You have a lower point of view. Here, because we're seeing the top, we have a higher point of view. Your eye level is higher than the horizon, so we're slightly looking down. Here the eye level is almost even, looking straight at it. And here the eye level is below, so we're kind of looking up at that object. Same thing that happened all the way over here, just the opposite. Here's a vertical to start the whole thing off, to dictate everything else. I'm planning a vanishing point here and here. So this side is slightly longer. That's going to be the side that's longer than this side. And once again, it's just upside down. If you flipped it over, it would look just like this. And I'm doing from this point to the vanishing point, this point for the vanishing point. Don't get caught up at the bottom yet. This point to the vanishing point, this point to the vanishing point. Cutting it off, dropping these verticals through here, and there's my shape. To do the bottom, which is the same as doing the top, think about it. If this this point here was going to here, the bottom of this one is going to go across, okay, to that vanishing point. And the bottom point here is going to cut across to that bottom point. For tops and bottoms, just keep in mind that you're always going to have these lines that are going to crisscross. And where they intersect, okay, is that bottom back corner. If I drew a vertical through here and did everything else, you'd have the same as the fish tank kind of thing, but upside down. I'm not really bothering with that. The order how you do these, I would do this first. You could do this 1 second if you like, and then save this for the third where we're actually looking through it. And again, I always like to call this one like the box kite or something, because that's one of the only times something obviously where we see like a rectangular shape in midair. And that's pretty much it. I mean, I've added a little bit of tone, like making this a little darker here, a little tone on the side here, just to give this, you know, to accentuate the form and the fact that here's your shape versus all these guidelines that are outside of it. It's that easy. If you don't follow instructions well, it's that hard. You know, some of you might have a natural knack for understanding and you'd be off to the races doing this. Others could sit here for hours and hours and stumble on this in terms of trying to figure out how to do a top and a bottom, and yet it's very simple if you just follow these exact principles. So that's it. That's a rectangle. I say cube on these. It's not a perfect cube, but rectangle on, below, and above the horizon line. And remember, the horizon line is something we're creating, and then we're looking as if where our eye level is above the horizon line, or our eye level is below the horizon line, or through the middle of it. Okay, thank you.